My name is Markus Gee, and I work for a local firm called Axeon, and we are one of the world-renowned organizations that does quality system and regulatory training. We've been around for about 14, 15 years, and some of you who have been involved with Axeon might know the name of Darwin and Darwin. So by the way, Darwin and Darwin, say hello if you know Axeon. They're the gentleman who started the Axeon. And so D2 is the previous owner, and he's the older one. D3 is the new company president. And so they wish to say hello to you, and please welcome to any future trainings. Well, my name is Markus Gee, and I have been in the industry for hard for me to say, 30 plus years, and I'm getting some gray in my sideburns, so that's probably tells you how long I've been in the industry. Something unique about me is that I spent about 17 years doing product development, and the unique thing that the company that I worked for did was they had the vision to connect product development with regulatory. Think about that just for a moment. They linked product development with regulatory. When they called me in and says, Markus, we want to make you the director of product development, I says, I'm not an engineer. They said, you don't need to be an engineer. But what we have seen is in the quality system that you help to develop, you go into certain areas and you start breaking down the bureaucracy, and you get people talking with each other. My background is in systems theory. So, gee, how does biology work with quality management systems? Anybody want to answer that question? How does quality systems, how do you get people talking with each other? Anybody? This is going to be a long session if nobody's going to be talking. The guy in the blue shirt that's smiling. Yeah, you. He took it on the back row. Say it again?
Most of the talking that happens among the team is with the inspectors when they show up.
Okay. Well, in this session, we're going to learn how quality management systems work together, from product introduction, the inception of the product, all the way through its death. And that's a lot to take into consideration. But I have focused this session on 3 specific systems that our quality management systems have got to be working very, very well together. So, thank you for being here. On the slide deck, hopefully the little clicker is going to be working. We're trying something new. Is in order to introduce the topic and how quality management systems need to work and be integrated with each other, we're going to talk about the top 5 violations cited by the FDA inspectors. How many of you, by the raise of hand, have sat through an FDA inspection? How many of you felt it was painful? Those hands still came up. All right. How many of you have had the opportunity to go through an FDA inspection and it was smooth and you got no observations? All right. Congratulations to 4 of you who felt courage enough to raise your hand. Okay. Adam, why did your inspection go so smooth? I heard preparedness. Okay, I heard preparedness. Anybody else want to share? How did your inspection go smoothly? Did you raise your hand? You said?
Yeah, it was pretty the same thing, preparation.
Preparation.
And not that it gave us any points, but you treat FDA inspectors like people. They're people. They're there to do a job. And, at the end of our inspection, we had 2 auditors, and they thanked us for
Fantastic.
casual conversation, the way he documents. Of course, we even had a couple of jokes where he was long pauses where the FDA is reviewing documents and saying nothing. So we had a rapport with them. They're there to do a job. They present everything they wanted to do, but they're people too.
Okay, very good. Preparedness and respect. Okay. I have come into FDA inspections because I am a consultant, and I travel the United States, and I go to FDA inspections. And just to kind of be really clear, FDA inspectors, and now it's not working. Next. Oh, there it goes. Now we're working. Next. Keep going. Okay. Hit it like three times. Stop right there. Thank you. The clicker's not working. One of the things that we come into inspections is that they are inspections. These guys, one more time, will you, on the button? The FDA inspectors come in, and they are law enforcement officers. They carry a badge, okay? That's important for us to know. They are not audits. They are inspections. They are there to find out, to give us a citation if we don't follow the rules and the regulations. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so in order to give us some focus on how the quality management system works together, I'm going to show some pretty startling slides over the last 2.5 years. Next slide, please. Okay, the top 10 483 findings in 2022. Kind of study that just for a moment. Just study that. In 2022, the two red bars had to deal with the CAPA system. CAPA is the corrective and preventative action system in our organizations, in our quality systems. Okay? So in 2022, we're just coming out of COVID, right? And 240 observations, nonconformities, the FDA has cited organizations to. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay. In 2023 through August of this year, here are what the FDA has been citing. So in a 1.5 year period of time, design controls, huge number of observations in design controls. The next one, CAPA, the processes and the records. Third, customer complaint handling. Fourth, medical device reporting, and then purchasing controls. Some of you might be sitting there going, oh, yeah, we got hit on that one. Oh, yeah, we got hit on that one too. Okay? But this is coming right from the FDA database. Now, it might be surprising to know, I'm going to key in right now on CAPA. 52% of the time, well, 48 to 52% of the time, depending on the year that we're looking at, the FDA is writing up observations on the CAPA system, the root cause investigation system of our organization. Let's go to the next slide, please. If you're from the pharma area, the pharma industry, kind of take a look-see at that. This is what the FDA is writing up on 483s for pharma. Following or documenting laboratory controls, number one. Investigation of discrepancies and failures, sounds like CAPA to me, but in the pharma industry, there's no regulation for CAPA, for corrective and preventive action. They just need to do investigations. Interesting. In the absence of written procedures, number three, and then approve or reject components and products, number four, and then components withheld from use of pending release. Kind of get us some perspective on where I'm trying to head. Okay? Next slide, please. So how do we prevent FDA infractions? Right here, if you're taking notes, I want you to walk away with these 3 golden nuggets today. There are 3 systems that have got to be, as I've traveled the nation and I've been in the industry for this many years, there's 3 systems we've got to have solid in our our quality management system. What do you think those are? Open conversation. Go. Anybody? Chris, I'm going to start with you. Pick one. Kappa. Whoa. You're awake and you're alive in here. Nice. Okay. Kappa is one of them. Anybody else have another one that you want to? Got two more. Ooh, I heard design control. I would put that was number 4. Okay. Ooh, that's another good one. I put that one as 5. Okay. We haven't even discussed it yet. Okay. We've got Kappa. Kappa's number 2. Where do oftentimes where our nonconformities come from? Somebody say audits. Thank you. All right. Okay, audits. The number one issue and number one system that our quality management systems have got to have solid, we've got to have a good problem identification system within our organization. Internal audits. Our internal auditors have got to be solid. They need to know how to peel the organization apart. We've got to find the stuff before inspectors find it or regulatory agencies find it. So, first, system's got to be solid. Problem identification. The second system has got to be problem solving system, or our Kappa system. By the raise of hands, how many of you are highly confident that your root cause investigation in your system is working flawlessly? No hands? On a scale from 1 to 8, how many think your root cause investigation system is working well? All right, we got some brave souls. Got 4 or 5 hands going up. Ooh, some reluctant 7 or 8ers. All right. The third system that's got to be working solid in our quality management system is I've traveled the nation and I've worked with dozens and dozens and dozens of medium and small size organizations. Management review. It surprises me. It startles me how many companies that are subjected to the 21 CFR 820, and there's a requirement that we have to have management review, and I go in to do a gap analysis, and they have not done a management review in years, and they think they're compliant. Well, what's going to happen as we talking about quality systems? What's going to happen in February the 2nd, 2026? Quality management system and regulations. Give us a little bit more detail. What does that look like? What's happening? Nice. Wish you had a microphone so everybody could really hear that. Okay? The FDA is absorbing and adopting ISO 1345 as the core of the quality management system. In that regulation, I'm sure that many of you already know, there's an agenda for management review, A through L. And it's going to be startling for many organizations who have not done management review for a long time, or at all, to go, oh my gosh, I have to do this. Now, really, let's get some courage here. How many of your managers, your senior managers, just do management review because it has to be done and it's a checklist thing? Or is it a tool for process improvement inside your organization? How many of you think your top managers think it's just a tool? We got to sit there for an hour and a half to 4 hours, and we got to go through this darn thing, and quality's going to do all the checking, and we're here, we got to sign our name on it. It's good. Thank you for having the courage there, all right? You're not alone. You're not alone, because there are multiple companies who just don't do management review, or they do it as a checklist item. Okay, same question. How many of you feel like your management review is a very powerful system inside your organization? Oh, I love that. Okay. QA guy that's all by yourself, your own team. I was in the last session. Why is your management review helpful?
Because our COO is extremely involved. He wants the company. It's a real desire, not just a stated desire. The whole company's on board, but especially him. He wants to drive the company to be better than we were last year, and we're all striving for that continual improvement. So he's actively looking for that feedback. It's not just a paper exercise.
Fantastic. Great response. Congratulations, you've got a great leader over your organization. Okay, I'm going to tell you a quick little story that talks about, that interrelates internal audits and how they weren't doing well, how they went into CAPA, and how the CAPA system was just clogged and nothing was happening in the CAPA system, and how management review impactfully started to change the culture of the organization. Okay? I worked with a company on the East Coast, and I'm not going to name their name, but they're a worldwide company. And I worked for a division that had over 575 employees in it. And every year, once a year, they'd have management review. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yep, kind of the same thing. And for 5.5 hours, management from all over the world would come to online and in the office, and they would drudgingly go through this management review process. Well, the previous quality director leaves the company. Guess what happened to the quality management system when that person left the company? Anybody want to guess? Okay, I got the thumbs down. Okay, the quality management system left with that person. There wasn't a quality management system in place. When one person walks out of the organization, everything starts to tank, not good. But it all got uncloaked. So in comes Markus as the quality systems manager, and I'm 6 months into the job, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Management reviews in like 3 weeks, so I'm preparing for it, and I'm interviewing people, I'm putting all the stuff together, and the internal audits were done, and the internal audits were done by the quality engineers, and they're auditing their own stuff. Kind of a problem for me, because I'm there for regulatory compliance. I take a look at the records for the manufacturing, and they use the same checklist for the past 10 years, and they would just go in and they would copy down what they wrote down the year before. There was no newness to the system. So internal audits weren't being performed very well within the organization. Okay? The reason why, then that led into CAPAs. CAPAs weren't being done because CAPA was a 4-letter word in that organization. I might push a few buttons here, but Kaizen, does anybody know what a Kaizen is? Okay, lady in black nodding her head, yeah, what's a Kaizen event? Oh, we got 2 people. Chris, you want to give those 2 ladies that are both sitting in black dresses. Let's give it to the back lady first, right there by you, Chris.
Where? Right.
Okay, the lady right here in front. Right there. She was nodding right.
Okay, yeah. A Kaizen is related to lean and the principle of doing kind of a quick, continuous improvement, looking for your waste very, very quickly. Something that you will put together, value stream maps, et cetera, to diagnose the root cause and implement a solution.
The what? Did you say the R word?
Yes.
Looking for the root cause. All right. So we had this organization that was rich on Kaizen events. We called it Kaizen Candy because you get to go to somebody else's facility and get into their business and have this happy little event by posting all this stuff on the board and do a value stream mapping, and then it reduced stuff down, and that's great, and you're trying to find what the root cause is. Nobody was working on their CAPAs because nobody understood what the regulations, that there was a regulation for CAPA. So golden nugget number 2 as you walk out of here, if you have an organization that's rich on Kaizen, you might want to consider talking to management to go Kaizen candy, Kappa broccoli. Combine those two systems because they are virtually exactly the same. And you'll get things working through your organization, and you will, like the last session we just went through, quality can have an impact on improvement, okay? So Kappa and Kaizen are virtually the exact same thing. It's just how your company calls it. I would recommend Kaizen candy, but Kappa is a regulatory requirement, so see if you can combine those two together, okay? Quality system stuff. Then in management review, still in my story, we're now in management review, and 5 days before management review, I am giving the slide deck and all the data to my new director. And he's looking at me and he's going, Markus, we cannot show this slide deck and this information to top management. They will fire us. And I said, better now than never. Okay? So I said, let me just leave it with you. You go through all the data, see if you can turn it differently. And he couldn't. He says, okay, push the button, hit the send button. We sent it off 2 days before. It's now the event of management review. And here's the important part of the story. At the end of a 3-hour management review with managers and leaders all over the world, et cetera, we got to 3 questions. Is our quality management system suitable, effective, and adequate? Is it suitable? Top management says, no, it's not. Is it effective? No, it is not. Is it adequate? Yes, or we wouldn't have the data to be able to change those things. You kind of seeing where I'm going with this quality system and its integration and communicating with top management? And the powerful thing that happened during that management review, the question was asked, what we need to do next. And since we only had management review once a year, top management said this: we're going to have management review every 3 months until we right the ship. Ladies and gentlemen, that was powerful. We began changing the culture of the organization through proper reporting of internal audits. The Kappa system was jammed because there's no resources for it, because they're all out doing Kaizen events outside of the facility. Are you beginning to see the integration of the system? Okay. Now, internal audits, a couple quick little plugs. If you are doing internal audits in your small organization, you may want to consider stopping that and doing it outside. Get a third-party organization in there to do your internal audits. The reason why is because the inspectors from the FDA and your notified body auditors, they are looking for that objectivity. So just take that golden nugget and strongly consider getting a third party to come in and do an outside audit so you can peel the organization apart. Okay? Find those nonconformities, find those gaps so that you get to fill them on your timeline, not the FDA's timeline. Okay? Now, how to prevent our FDA infractions. Now we know what the 3 systems are that got to be integrated. How do we avoid these infractions? Let's see if this is going to work for us. We want to know and understand the regulations related to our product. You want to hit the button twice for us? One more time, okay? We want to read the regulations, then document the efforts that we've read them and understood them. We want to use the regulations when writing, reviewing, and approving our procedures and our processes. And third, please, 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 as I travel the nation and I work with companies, please don't be the master of the regulation. Pull out 13485. Lay it out in front of a meeting and say, this is the regulation that we need to follow in 7.5.2. This is what it says, and this is what we're doing. Educate the team so that there is an understanding of what's going on and why we do what we do, and if there is a gap, educate them on how to close that gap so that you can come closer to that 7.5.2 clause, okay? So please use the regulation and the standards that you're working with. Secondly, seek regulatory training outside of your organization. So we want to overcome the tribal knowledge, and we want to identify the blind spots. And many of you probably have heard this before. I hear it all the time. I didn't know that's what the regulation really said. I didn't know that's what the regulation really meant. Part of my swan song is I like to keep regulatory super simple, the KISS principle. Keep it super simple. Get outside training. Move on to the next one. To how to prevent FDA infractions is to ensure internal auditors are competent and they can peel the organization apart. What does that mean? What do you think I mean by that? Tomas, what do you think?
First of all, give them external experience and make sure that they are really familiar with your company's processes and products so they can be effective in doing the job.
Very good. Thank you. Let me put you on the spot there. Okay? Internal auditors cannot be afraid of going to top management during the management review portion of the audit and be afraid to ask them questions. They're going to fire me if I find something. 100% of the time, 100% of the time, as I've interviewed top management, and I say, how did the internal audit go when you got audited for that? And they said, I really appreciated that internal auditor. I can see how it can kind of be scary to be talking to top management, but I really appreciate it because I, top management, don't want to look like an idiot in an inspection or an audit. So internal auditors, you probably all are internal auditors, I'm suspecting. Don't be afraid to get into top management's business and find compliance, okay? And break through that tribal knowledge stuff. So find
Marcus, looks like we got one more.
Oh, yeah, Tomas.
So to what extent the internal auditor must be independent of its own management? Because that's kind of a key of telling truth to powers, right?
Okay. Answer your own question.
Well, my answer is they have to be independent.
They got to be independent.
Yeah.
Yep. They've got to be independent. Thank you. Okay. And how to prevent the FDA infractions is, this is really important and key. Go through the regulations, and you know what the shalls mean. That means the must statement. Go through the standards and the regulation, and highlight highlight the organization shall statements. Those are the must statements. The organization shall. Because if you don't do it and your quality system doesn't address it, guess who's going to help you do that? An FDA inspector and your notified body. I have that specifically on there because I could sit here for the next 15 minutes and describe situation after situation after situation where the inspector says the organization shall have a procedure for, and the procedure shall include da-da-da-da-da-da, and they go through that laundry list that's in the regulation, then they go through the procedure and it's not there. Guess what? We've just earned ourselves a 483 because we haven't implemented the regulation effectively in our quality management system. So how to avoid infractions? Please look at all the shall statements in your quality management system. Get the systems talking together. Okay, next button, please. We're not going to go into these shall statements because I think I've made the point and I'm talking to an educated audience, but we've got shall statements through the whole FDA, 21 CFR, and all the other regulations and the standards that we got to look at. Continuing on how to prevent infractions, we want to use the CAPA system as a shield and a protection for us. When we put together a CAPA for something that we've found, either a corrective action or preventive action, it can help prevent the FDA from digging any deeper. They're going to look at that CAPA. They're going to see if it's properly documented. They demonstrate that the issue has been identified and is being addressed. Next is to ensure that the CAPAs are resolving the root cause, not simply patching. Why? 52% of the time, in the last statistics I did, the organization's going to walk, the FDA is going to walk out of the organization with a 483 observation on the CAPA system. It's on two issues. One, the procedure isn't effective, hasn't taken all the regulations and applied it all. And second is the records aren't there. Can you hit the button one more time for me again? One more time. Okay. I want to take your eyes down to the very, very bottom of the page. This is the biggest infraction that comes across and why CAPA is so oftenly found in our systems because we haven't effectively implemented it. It is 21 CFR 820.100, corrective and preventative actions, and I want you to go down to Bravo. And Bravo says, all activities required under this section and their results shall be documented. Next week, I'll go to a client and I'll start doing an assessment on their quality management system. We'll come up with CAPA. I say, can you please show me the last 3 CAPAs that you've done? And they're going to bring me out one page, one piece of paper. Because somehow, some way, somewhere in the past, somebody has thought, you can't tell the FDA anything because if you tell them too much, they're going to dig too much. So they bring out one piece of paper, and I shake my head and go, oh no, this isn't going to be good. Because Bravo, all activities required under this section and their results shall be documented. They're not attached to that CAPA. That is an immediate red flag to an FDA inspector to say, I'm going to dig a little deeper. Show me the evidence, show me the evidence. So you're beginning to see how corrective action and internal audits begin to tie together. Hopefully, I'm sure you're all saying yes. Moving on to the next one on how to prevent. Go back one slide if you would, please. I told you a little too fast. The last one on that slide there is to write and maintain a quality plan for the quality management system and the new quality management system regulations that are up and coming and the improvements that are going to be happening to your system. Write a quality plan, okay? Next slide, if you would, please. Okay. I'm talking to professionals here, so we're not going to go into this next little bit of the slide. But let's open it up for discussion. What are your thoughts? And I want you to get really guttural because I want this to be a real pragmatic experience for you today. Who would like to share how those 3 systems, the audit finding, the problem finding, the problem solving, and management review are working within your organization? Who's going to have the courage to share? Don't make me pick on Adam again. Chris, you're holding the microphone.
I am holding the microphone, yeah. How they work together?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a hand-in-glove, maybe inside-glove situation. You have to be able to identify, you have to continue to identify situations, issues that are going on. Management review should be an opportunity to identify some. Your internal audits are another opportunity to identify some. Your CAPA is a process that allows you to dig into those and resolve them. You're reporting those things out through management review. Management gets to see how effective your CAPA system is being. And in internal audits, you're investigating all of that again to make sure that each of those other functions is operating as it should. So I think it's one of those situations where they all have to be together in order for the system to truly be effective.
Okay, you asked a lot of questions in the last session, so I'm going to ask a question of you.
Good.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Share with us an experience with how all those systems work together that didn't quite work together, and what did you do to solve it?
Yeah, coming onto a company when I was first joining it at a point in time, They had processes that were in place. They weren't effectively using them. Very similar to kind of your story, I would say. So management review kind of existed. CAPA kind of existed. Internal audits didn't really exist. And we had an opportunity to kind of explore that and look at what steps we needed to take to turn that ship around. So early on, we took the extra step, like you explained, of getting somebody outside the organization to come in and look and kick the tires. Already, even though I was new and also realizing that there was more here that I needed to get support for. So we brought in somebody else to really fully assess our systems, and that gave us an opportunity to see, with some expertise from outside of just my own head, that we needed some additional help. So that external assistance, that separation from the company, gave us some firepower to arm the management team to be able to make the decision that we could make these changes, right? So them not working together was something that, you know, we kind of inherited. Putting them back together was something we tried to adopt. And I like what you said about using quality plans. We ended up taking a quality plan and wrapping those findings underneath a quality plan and using that as a tool for advancing the system and making it work. So.
Great response. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot. I got 5 minutes, right? Okay. All right. We've got 3 minutes to have a quick little open discussion. Who else would like to share where they have found internal audits, the problem finding, CAPA, the problem solving, and management review worked well? I saw some hands earlier, so I'm expecting some mouths to be moving, going, yeah, I'd like to share. Thank you, Adam.
So when we started manufacturing in 2019, we had most of our labeling done externally, and that wasn't going very well, so we brought it in-house. As we brought it in-house, we learned the difficulties. You know, labels are a nightmare. If there's a problem, it will show up. So we found that in our audit, in our internal audits, we found problems with reconciliation. We found problems with content of the labels. And so we took that to our management review, which led to us opening up a CAPA to resolve it. And we ended up creating a label creation team that would focus on updating documents and procedures and standardizing our label process to address those root causes. So it was a cycle between finding things in audits, opening CAPAs, and then having management involved to supply the resources to create this team and the documentation to resolve those root causes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. That's a great way to end off our session. I'm going to end with this. And some of you, I might be just preaching to the choir. But when the FDA comes into your facility and they walk away and you have a 483 liter, the average cost to the organization, which is not really great added value, $300,000 to try to remediate the system back to compliance. Just let that sit in just for a moment. So when we get our internal auditing system working well, part of our quality system, we get our CAPA system getting to the root cause and solving the problems, not just patching them, and management review is solid, and they're getting the resources necessary, and they're engaged in making that process improvement, you're going to be saving your organization $300,000 on average. Okay? So just let that sink in just for a moment as we close our session. And I wish you well over this next year. that as you work on the shall statements and you start integrating these three systems together, and they're working wonderfully, please reach out and get the training you need, get your auditors trained, and if needs be, get your top management trained on how to do effective quality management review. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Marcus.